Hey everybody, I'm Mr. Davenport. Welcome to Exploring Plant and Animal Science. And today we are talking about livestock management practices. Our goal, our learning target today is for students to be able to understand responsible animal welfare and care practices and the environmental impacts related to animal production. And our essential question today is, how does the agricultural industry care for animals and what practices ensure animal welfare? So what we're going to be talking about today is literally different livestock practices that we use to make sure that animals are healthy. So let's start with a little bit of a think here. Okay, so what we've got here are different life experiences in no particular order. Okay, we've got obtaining your driver's license, losing your baby teeth, getting your social security card, getting your shots, vaccines, obtaining your birth certificate, going to the dentist, getting braces, being at school, obtaining your driver's license, your first haircut, and graduating high school. So here's what I want you to do. In the next 20 some seconds, okay, I want you to look at this list. In the next 20 some seconds, that 10 countdown is going to count down 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And it is in 20 seconds. That's what I've got timed for. I want you guys to organize this list the best you can. Now, if you need to pause, feel free to pause. Do that. That's absolutely no problem. But I'm going to do the countdown at 20 seconds, and I'm going to start it in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and go. 20 seconds, guys. Goes by fast.
Ms. Price, please dial extension 4860. Ms. Price, please dial extension 4860.
All right, with that, guys, in that opportunity, in that countdown, let's take a brief moment and let's share what is the correct order. Okay, this is the correct order of those life experiences. Okay, so first you get born, you get your birth certificate. After you get born, you get issued your social security card. Then pretty soon, within a few months, you get your first vaccinations. Then in a couple of months to a year, year and a half, maybe 3 years, that's when you be getting your first haircut. And then soon, when you hit 4 or 5 years old, you go into preschool or kindergarten. Then you start losing them baby teeth, and you start going to your first dentist appointment. Then, when you hit middle school, you might be getting braces. Then you be going to that next milestone of your driver's permit when you're 15, and then getting your driver's license at 16, and then graduating high school. So these are those life experiences that come in a particular order, and these things are not necessarily good or bad. They're just things that happen throughout our life, throughout our existence. Things that give us security, things that keep us healthy, and things that help us be able to have a good life. Well, here's the thing. Animals and production livestock have life experiences just like humans. The difference is that these life experiences, is that the livestock are meant to help manage their health and their well-being. Okay, so the life experiences that we're going to talk about today are meant specifically to help animals have good, healthy lives, and also wind up as incredible harvested animals for our food supply. So let's talk about what are these livestock management practices. Well, first is castration. Second is dehorning. Then there's vaccination. Then there's identification, tail docking, teeth clipping, debeaking, and shearing. So, guys, all of these things have something to do with making sure that an animal is healthy and kept alive. And we're going to go into each of these and discuss the purpose and the reasons why we do these different practices. So, let's get started, and I'm going to knock the big one right out of the way first round. So here's the big one, and this is where y'all are, this is what the viewer discretion advised at the front of the video was about, because our first thing that we're talking about is castration. And so castration is a animal husbandry practice that is done to male animals, and what is done is we literally remove the testes to prevent unwanted breeding. This is done to dogs, and when it's done to dogs, it is called neutering. And so a lot of folks, and I know a lot of y'all will be asking the question regarding castration, but why though? Why do we do this? Why do we bother? Don't we want to have more animals? I mean, seriously, but why though? Why is it? Well, the truth of the matter is that livestock producers castrate animals for a couple of reasons. One, it leads to better meat. And two, it results in animals not fighting. Okay? It results in male animals basically being less aggressive and not harming each other. It also means that male animals are going to be less aggressive and not harm farmers. So the purpose of castration, the purpose of removing the testes, which produce testosterone, which cause aggression, is basically to protect the animals from themselves and to protect from unwanted breeding and to lead to better quality meat, because less fighting means less bruises on the animals. So now, with that out of the way, we're going to talk about very briefly some castration techniques. I'm not going to go into graphic detail. We will be explaining these at a later time. But I want you to be aware that this discussion is coming. So, here we go. Moving forward. So, again, remember, castration is the removing of the testes to prevent unwanted breeding. So right now we've got 3 different ways that we can castrate animals. So what we're going to talk about first, I am sorry, back. Trying to find the zoom in, there we go. So first, we're going to talk about surgical castration. Okay, so surgical castration is basically when we use a knife and we actually go to where our animal is going to be castrated, and we literally cut and perform a surgery by snipping away, cutting into the testicular sac, and removing physically with a knife the testes, both of them. Now with cows, we can do this while they're standing up, as long as they are being held securely. These are, now, to put people's mind at ease, this is normally done when the animal is very, very young, okay, within the first 3 to 4 weeks of life, okay, sometimes even, about 2 to 3 weeks. And so the idea is to get these animals have their testes surgically removed as quickly and as safely as possible, so that they will not feel the same amount of pain it would be if they were an older animal. So then we have our next, okay, this is called a birdito. Okay, this is used for mostly with cows and for calves, and it can also be used for sheep. This is a bloodless method of testes removal, What this does is it clips and removes the testes by destroying the flow of blood and basically crushing them and crushing the connective tissue between the body and the testes. So the idea is that we're literally destroying the testes by basically breaking them down, okay, so that will be rendered useless. This is not 100% effective. This is why most farmers prefer the surgical method, or what we're going to see right here, the elastrator. The elastrator is the last method, and it basically uses a tool called an elastrator or a bander, and it takes these rubber rings that are very, very strong rubber bands, and what we do is we literally pull the testes down as far as possible and pull the band up, and it will literally cut the circulation off of those organs so that they will be rendered ineffectual and will eventually go necrotic and fall off. So this purpose, again, when we're talking about castration, the point and the purpose is to really stop the flow of testosterone and keep the male animals more, well, calm and sedated. So the next thing, dehorning. Dehorning means to remove or prevent the growth of horns. Well, why do we want to remove the horns in cattle, sheep, and goats? Well, these horns can harm humans and the other animals. For the same reasons that we castrate, we try to remove horns in these species in order to prevent humans and the other animals from getting injured and also damaging the meat. If you keep animals from being injured, then your quality of meat goes up because of less bruising, less damage to the carcass. So dehorning is another one of those reasons and ways that we prevent damage to the animal, especially when animals are going to be raised in close quarters. And the way that we do most dehorning is with what we call a hot iron. What the hot iron does is it heats up, and there are points where the horns grow out, okay, on top of the head of the cattle, sheep, or goat. And the hot iron basically burns in and kills those nerves so that the horns will never grow. Now, there are other ways, like a depolar, which actually goes in and pulls out that collection of tissue, and we can also dehorn the old-fashioned way with a saw and clippers, but those can be very painful. The hot iron is a very minimum amount of pain, very quick, and it basically is the most painless option when it comes to dehorning cattle. All right, next, vaccination. So vaccination is pretty simple. It's giving the animals their shots. So vaccination is administering microorganisms to increase the immunity to a particular disease. So we're going to talk about different types and reasons for vaccinations later on at another date. Right now, you just need to keep in mind that vaccination is about preventing disease in livestock animals. It's also about preventing disease in humans, which is why vaccination is important. So, next, identification. So, identification comes in all types of forms in the livestock industry, and these methods exist for the purpose of a farmer to be able to recognize a particular animal. So there are all types of different forms of identification, and let's go over just a few of them right now. So right here, this example that you're seeing, this is called ear notching. And each of these notches represent a specific number. This down here tells the litter number and which number it was out of the litter. And we'll talk about this in greater detail later. And then over here plays out the number of the pig. Okay, the actual identity. So the whole name of the pig is 12114. And we'll talk about how this works later when I can get you guys, and I will actually do some ear tag projects that with some paper plates, and hopefully you guys will be able to enjoy that. Then you have the typical tag ID. This is normally done by hanging from the ear, or it can also be done from hanging on a necklace like this, okay? And different farmers use different methods, but you still have to identify your animals. Then you've got some farmers who tattoo their animals. They literally tattoo their number into the ear of the animal. You've got some farmers who get fancy and have electric ear tags that communicate through Wi-Fi signals. And then you have the old-fashioned way of a hot iron or cold iron brand that brands a symbol of the animal into the skin of the animal and burns off the hair so that farmers and ranchers will be able to identify that animal. So, docking. Now, this is another one that makes folks a little uncomfortable. Docking is the removal of a portion of an animal's tail, usually around the anus, around the butthole, to keep that tail from getting dirty, resulting in disease. So I'm going to zoom this in and show y'all an example of docking in sheep, okay? So this is done with a rubber band, and the purpose of this, lambs are born with fairly long tails. And so those tails can get dirty in the environment that they're raised in. Pastures, they can get stepped on, they can get bitten, and it could also make them easier prey for wild dogs and wolves and coyotes. So, but the main reason is for cleanliness, so that manure and dirt and other nasty bacteria does not get all caked up around the exit of the sheep, allowing for potential infections. So eventually what happens is the tail atrophies because you either cut it off or you put a band on it, and then you wind up with a sheep with little to no tail. Okay, so that is docking, okay, the removal of the tail to prevent disease. Now, then we have needle teeth clipping. Teeth clipping of piglets is to prevent injuries to other pigs. I'm going to zoom in and show you guys this right here. So, you see that right there where the pliers are holding? Those don't look that bad right now, but when this piglet gets to be about 6 months old, those teeth will start to poke out and they become dangerous to the farmer and to other pigs. So the purpose of needle teeth is of teeth clipping is to remove those teeth that would jut out and become tusk-like, not like whole tusk, but tusk-like, to keep the farmer and other pigs safe. All right? And we got a few more to go. This is going to go a little bit longer than 20 minutes. Now, then we have debeaking. Okay? Debeaking is the removal of just the sharp tip of the upper mandible of a bird. And the reason is to keep these birds from pecking at each other and prevent cannibalism and prevent fighting, because that beak is a multi-use tool for poultry. And so that beak is how they interact with the world. So if they're going around with a sharp beak, they could be potentially injuring the other birds in their flock. And so this is done just like, this is done just like it's done surgically. There's a little machine. And basically what this does is it snips the very pointed part of it, okay? Or it can actually kind of sand it down so it's less sharp depending on the machine. And so the purpose of this is to keep the adult animals from having a really sharp beak where they could hurt each other. And shearing. Shearing is where we're going to end this video today. And shearing is about two things. One, the comfort of the animal, especially in raising animals that have thick coats of wool or hair in warm areas. And also, we'll shear animals and sometimes, a lot of the times, use that for a specific purpose, like making clothes. So, guys, this is our end. This is where we're going to shut down for today. And remember, this is all about livestock management practices. And if you need to go back and review anything, please feel free to do so. All right. Talk to you later, guys.